Imagine being just 10 years old, living a quiet life in a small town, when suddenly your family becomes the center of a scandal that has the whole town whispering. That's exactly what happened to Tiphaine Auzière, Brigitte Macron's daughter. One day, she was simply a schoolgirl. The next, her mother was at the heart of a media storm over a rumored relationship with one of her teenage students. And not just any student, Emmanuel Macron, who would later become the president of France. Yep, it sounds like something out of a movie, but it was Tiphaine's real life.
Parce que j'ai une maman que j'aime profondément et qui, au-delà d'être la première dame, est prof de français.
In a rare and deeply personal interview with Paris Match, Tiphaine opened up about how that scandal affected her childhood. "I was only 10, she said, recalling the moment she realized something was happening between her mom and a student. At the time, Brigitte was still married and raising 3 kids in the quiet northern town of Amiens. But the rumors about a forbidden relationship spread like wildfire, and they didn't stop at the school gates. There were attacks, rumors, punishments. We lived in a small provincial town. Everything was known, Tiphaine shared. No social media back then, but that didn't make things easier. Everyone talked, everyone judged, and for a child, watching your family be picked apart like that, unimaginable. Despite this, we held our heads high, she said. I am an open-minded woman. I want to move forward, and I have gained a lot of tolerance.
C'est quelqu'un qui se relève toujours.
One of the most painful parts for Tiphaine was watching her father, André-Louis Auzière, quietly pushed out of their home in 1994. He didn't officially divorce Brigitte until 2006, just a year before she married Emmanuel Macron. Family separation can be both sadness and opportunity, she said. Recomposition can be an enrichment. I have a loving father and stepfather. Even now, she speaks of her father in the present tense, though he passed away in 2019, a sign of the lasting place he holds in her life. And let's not forget how intense things must have been inside their home. Macron, then a teenage student, was a regular visitor, ringing their doorbell often, which only added fuel to the gossip. Tiphaine's sister Laurence, who was 17 at the time, was in the same class as Macron. Her brother, Sébastien, was 19. All 3 children were students at La Providence, the same Catholic school where Brigitte taught drama. So yes, the rumors hit very close to home. But even decades later, the family hasn't entirely escaped the scrutiny. Tiphaine was especially shaken by online conspiracy theories suggesting her mother was born male. I was concerned about the kind of society we live in when I heard a story circulating on social media that my mother is actually a man, she said. Just look at the confidence with which such a thing is said and the credibility given to such a statement. How to resist misinformation on social media networks.
I think they made a huge mistake.
Now a lawyer, Tiphaine lives in Calais with her husband and 2 children. But the scars from those early years clearly remain. Still, she's chosen not to live in bitterness. She speaks with a calm strength, shaped by years of learning to rise above public judgment, and that's something not everyone could do. So, how did it all begin? Let's rewind to the early 90s. Emmanuel was just 15 years old, a student at Lycée La Providence in Amiens, a small city in northern France. Brigitte, a woman 24 years his senior, married with 3 children, was his literature and drama teacher. And get this, her eldest daughter, Laurence, was actually in the same class as Emmanuel. At the time, Brigitte had been married for about 20 years to a banker named André-Louis Auzière. She was living a completely normal, respectable life as a wife, mother, and teacher. But everything changed when she met Emmanuel. You know where it's going. Their bond started while working during a school play, The Art of Comedy, by Italian playwright Edoardo De Filippo. Every Friday night they stayed after school, rehearsing lines, exchanging ideas, and apparently falling in love. Or at least he was.
And this is for a very positive memory.
Every Friday I would go write a play with her for a few hours. We talked about everything. It seemed to me that we had always known each other, the French president later revealed. Brigitte later said that working with young Emmanuel was like working with Mozart. He wasn't just smart, he was intense, driven, and way beyond his years.
We work very well together.
Now, at first, people just thought it was a close teacher-student relationship, but then things got a little too close. Other students started noticing that Brigitte and Emmanuel spent a lot of time together, staying late after rehearsals, deep in conversation, clearly very focused on each other. And then came the moment that really set off alarm bells. They were spotted at a restaurant sharing what witnesses described as a tender moment. Let's just say small towns love their gossip. Rumors started flying, and when Emmanuel's parents found out, they couldn't believe it. At first, they actually thought he was dating Brigitte's daughter, because that would have made way more sense. But when they realized the truth, they took immediate action. His mother, Françoise, admitted that when she first found out, she was completely shocked.
I think everybody was emotional at this very moment.
In a biography about Macron, his mother said, "We couldn't believe it. When Emmanuel met Brigitte, we couldn't just say, 'That's great.'" And honestly, can you blame her? Imagine your teenage son having long personal phone calls with someone much older, especially when that person is also his teacher. That's not exactly a situation most parents are prepared for. Their solution? Get him out of there. Fast. They sent him off to an elite boarding school in Paris, hoping that, with some distance, he'd move on, meet girls his own age, and forget all about his teacher. Brigitte, knowing how scandalous the situation had become, tried to distance herself as well. She believed Emmanuel would move on, meet someone his own age, and forget about her. But he didn't. Even from Paris, Emmanuel kept in touch. He called, he wrote letters, and he refused to let go. He even told Brigitte, "No matter what you do, I will marry you." I mean, come on. Most teenage boys are just trying to get through their exams, and here's Emmanuel, making lifetime commitments.
I always prefer having direct discussion.
And Brigitte? Despite everything, her husband, her kids, the social scandal, she couldn't ignore her feelings either. But she wasn't reckless. She knew her children would be affected, so she took her time. For 10 years, she stayed in contact with Emmanuel, but remained in her marriage, trying to shield her family from the inevitable fallout. But eventually, the marriage ended. By then, Brigitte's children were adults, and she finally felt free to be with Emmanuel. André-Louis Auzière, her ex-husband, took it hard. He left the family home in 1994, though their divorce wasn't finalized until 2006. A year later, in 2007, France's future president and his ex-drama teacher got married. She was 54, he was 29. And in an almost symbolic twist, they tied the knot in Le Touquet, the same seaside town where she had once married her first husband.
Quel rôle vous jouez auprès de lui?
Je suis son épouse, c'est tout simple.
When asked about their age gap, Brigitte told Elle France, "There are times in your life when you need to make vital choices, and for me, that was it. If I hadn't made that choice, I would have missed out on my life."
And people just want to choose a life. That's very much important.
Brigitte, however, has always defended their relationship. She once said, "He wasn't a teenager, he had a relationship of equals with other adults." Well, technically, he was a teenager. But okay, Brigitte, we'll let you have that one. By then, Emmanuel's career was on the rise. He was making a name for himself in the world of finance and politics. And in 2017, at just 39, he became the youngest president in French history. Interestingly, that was the exact age Brigitte had been when she first met him.
The fact that Emmanuel Macron is in a relationship with his old teacher, so a lady older than him, tells a story that is more interesting than those of the other candidates.
During his victory speech, he made sure to acknowledge her, saying, "She's always there, and what's more, without whom I wouldn't be me." If nothing else, you have to admit, Macron is committed. 5 years later, Brigitte stood beside him once again when he won re-election in 2022.
The office of the French president is here.
And this is where I work.
This is magnificent.
By then, the world had pretty much accepted their love story, even if it still raised eyebrows.
Emotion is always stronger than argumentation.
They never had children together, but Emmanuel has stepped into the role of stepfather to Brigitte's 3 kids. And now, at just 47, he's also a step-grandfather to her 7 grandchildren. Talk about skipping a few levels on the family tree. It's fascinating, really, that they've been together for decades now. Despite the controversy, their relationship has stood the test of time. But, let's be honest, the way it all started still raises concerns for many.
It was absolutely unique. This is a phenomenon.
So, what do you think? Is this an extraordinary love story? Or one that still raises eyebrows? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell for more celebrity stories.